There is an equilateral triangle and three bugs are sitting on the three corners of the triangle. Each of the bugs picks up a random direction and starts walking along the edge of the equilateral triangle. What is the probability that none of the bugs crash into each other? This is a fantastic puzzle asked in several job interviews. Feel free to pause the video and give a try before checking the solution. Once done, keep watching the video for the right approach. Here in this puzzle, every bug has two choices. Pick either of two edges, go through the corner on which bug is initially sitting. If you have come up with the fact that the bugs can avoid the collision only when they decide to move in the same direction, be it clockwise or anti-clockwise, you have already solved off of it. In any other way, the bugs will definitely run into each other. Now the bugs can move either clockwise or anti-clockwise. The probability of choosing a specific direction is then 1 over 2. We will utilize the simple equation of probability to find out our answer. The probability of no collision equals probability of the bugs move in clockwise direction plus probability of the bugs move in anti-clockwise direction. Probability of the bugs move in clockwise direction is 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. This is because there are three bugs and each bug have two options, either moving in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Similarly, the probability of the bugs move in anti-clockwise direction is 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. This is because there are three bugs and each bug have two options, either moving in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Hence, probability of no collision equals 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5 plus 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5, which is equal to 0.25. Thus, the probability that the bugs won't collide into each other is 0.25 or 1 over 4 or 1/4. This is a clever probability interview puzzle asked by many companies. Be prepared for this if you are preparing for interviews. The scenario comprises of a wobbly bridge and 4 people. It is the night time and the people have only one torch. Without torch, one may risk his life in crossing the bridge. Also, we have a condition. The bridge is not quite strong and can hold only 2 persons together at once. The 4 people take different time to cross the bridge. The timings are 1 minute, 2 minutes, 7 minutes and 10 minutes. Since the torch is a necessity and the bridge can't hold more than 2 persons at a time, 2 persons must travel at a time, out of which one must return with a torch so they don't risk their life crossing in the dark. What is the shortest time that will be required for all of them to cross the bridge? Let me simplify the puzzle. 4 people need to cross a bridge at night. Unfortunately, they have only one torch and the bridge is too dangerous to cross without one. The bridge is only strong enough to support 2 people at a time. Not all people take the same time to cross the bridge. Times for each person is 1 minute, 2 minutes, 7 minutes and 10 minutes. For example, if the 2 people with the speed 7 and 10 minutes were to cross together, it would take 10 minutes, leaving 17 minutes for one of them to return and get the rest moving. Can you find what is the shortest time needed for all 4 of them to cross the bridge? This is a very famous interview puzzle asked in several job interviews. Feel free to pause the video and give a try before checking the solution. Were you thinking of using the fastest person who takes 1 minute to travel to and fro till everyone has reached the other end? Yes, that can be done, but it will take 10 plus 1 plus 7 plus 1 plus 2 equals 21 minutes in total. If you pay attention towards finding a way to merge the one taking 7 minutes and the one taking 10 minutes, we will have to acknowledge the fact that one of them will also have to return back, which will take much more time than 21 minutes. What if we use the person taking 2 minutes to escort the one taking 1 minute across? Let's come to the conclusion. So in first step, 192 crosses the bridge and 2 returns with the torch. Here time taken is 2 plus 2 equals 4. In the second step, 7 and 10 crosses the bridge and one who was already in the other side come back. Here time taken is 10 plus 1 equals 11. In the final step, 192 crosses the bridge. Here time taken is 2 minutes. In such a manner, the total time taken will be 2 plus 2 plus 10 plus 1 plus 2 equals 17 minutes. Alternatively, the same time can be achieved like this. 1 and 2 go first, then 1 comes back, then 7 and 10 goes and 2 comes back, then 1 and 2 go again. It makes a total of 17 minutes. This is one of the most popular puzzles asked in several job interviews. Think that you have two identical ropes, which are non-uniform in composition. Each rope takes 60 minutes to burn, but the ropes are not identical, meaning 90% of the rope may burn in 5 minutes and rest 10% may take 55 minutes or any such composition. You don't have any watch but a lighter. How will you calculate 45 minutes? So I will repeat the puzzle. You have two identical ropes which are non-uniform in composition and each rope takes 60 minutes to burn. But their composition is non-uniform, meaning 90% of the rope may burn in 5 minutes and rest 10% may take 55 minutes, or 80% of the rope may burn in 5 minutes and rest then may take 55 minutes, or any such composition. You don't have any watch but a lighter. So the question is, how will you calculate 45 minutes? As it is told in the question, the ropes are non-uniform. It means that if you cut a rope in two half, then both half may not take 30 minutes each to burn. But on a whole, the rope will take 60 minutes to burn. This approach is not going to help. So in order to calculate 30 minutes, you only need one rope. So what you can do is burn the rope from both ends. It will take the rope 30 minutes to burn completely. Even though it is non-uniform, but if you burn on both the sides, it's definitely going to take 30 minutes because the composition does not matter since you are not burning the rope from one side. So in order to calculate 45 minutes, the one rope is not sufficient. You need two ropes. Let's call the ropes A and B and follow the below process in order to measure 45 minutes. What you have to do first is burn rope A from both ends and rope B from one end. So rope A will completely burn in 30 minutes. So because it is put on fire from both the ends. As we saw in the question itself, the rope takes 60 minutes to burn. Since you are burning on both the sides, the whole rope will burn in 60 minutes. So when rope A is burnt completely, you have already measured 30 minutes. But the rope B would have burnt for 30 minutes. It does not mean that the rope B is off burnt, but it has already taken 30 minutes and the remaining portion of the rope will burn in another 30 minutes. So at this point, lit the other end of rope B as well. It will take another 15 minutes for rope B to burn completely. So that's how you are going to measure 45 minutes. So I will repeat the solution. So what you are supposed to do is first burn rope A from both ends and rope B from one end. So rope A will completely burn in 30 minutes because it is put on fire from both ends. When rope A is burnt completely, rope B would have burnt for 30 minutes. So it does not mean that rope B is off burnt. At this point, lit the other end of rope B as well. It will take another 15 minutes for rope B to burn completely. So that's how you have measured 45 minutes. You are standing before two closed doors. One of the doors leads to heaven and the other one leads to hell. Two watchmen are standing, one in front of each door. You know one of them always tells the truth and the other always lies. But you don't know which watchman tells the truth and who is the liar. You can ask only one question to one of them in order to find the way to heaven. What will you ask? Let's check the solution now. The solution to this puzzle is you should go to any one of the watchmen and ask him, if I ask the other watchman about which side leads to heaven, what would he answer? If you ask a direct question, which door leads to heaven, then the honest one will tell the truth and the liar watchman will point toward the door that leads to hell. But here we are not asking the direct question, we are asking one watchman about how the other will answer. Let me explain how this particular solution holds good for this situation. If you ask the honest watchman how the other, that is liar, will answer, he knows that the liar will point towards hell. So he will tell you that the answer will be the hell's door. If you ask the liar watchman how the other, that is honest, will answer, he knows that the honest one will point towards heaven door, but since he is a liar himself, he will tell you the other door, which is the door of hell. Hence, in both the cases, irrespective of whether the watchman is honest or liar, he is pointing to the hell's door. So you can choose the other path to continue your journey to heaven. Thus, instead of asking direct question, you can achieve the solution by asking indirect questions to watchmen. You are blindfolded and 10 coins are placed in front of you on table. You are allowed to touch the coins but can't tell which way up they are by feel. You are told that there are 5 coins heads up and 5 coins tails up, but not which ones are which. How do you make two groups of coins each with the same number of heads up? Note, you can flip the coins any number of times. Pause the video and give it a try before checking the solution, and do not forget to comment if you found something interesting. Initially, this puzzle looks like a complicated one, but this is a simple puzzle if you know the logic. Here is the correct way to approach. The logic is make two groups with equal number of coins. Now flip all the coins in one of the group. Flipping means turn coin head to tail and tail to head. And this will do the magic. I will explain how this will work with a couple of examples. Let's take an example. So initially there are 5 heads and 5 tails. So suppose if you divide it in two groups, there are multiple possibilities. I will consider two possibilities where the logic holds valid. In case 1, assume that group P1 has coins with 2 heads and 3 tails, and in group 2 has coins with 3 heads and 2 tails. Now P1 will be flipped. After flipping, P1 has 2 tails and 3 heads. Now we can clearly see that number of heads in group 1 is equal to number of heads in group 2. So in this example, I have selected group 1 to flip, but you can choose any group to flip, still we can achieve the result. Let's consider another case. In this case, assume that group P1 has coins with 1 head and 4 tails, and group P2 has coins with 4 heads and 1 tail. Now when P1 is flipped, we can see that number of heads in group 1 is equal to number of heads in group 2. In this way, we can make sure that the number of heads is equal in both groups logically using these simple steps. There is one more important condition that you should know. There is only one case which will not guarantee the number of heads is equal in both groups. That is, when number of heads in any of the group is 5 and if you choose the same group to flip. In this scenario, all coins in both groups have tails up, which is not expected output. You have 240 barrels of wine, one of which has been poisoned. After drinking the poisoned wine, one dies within 24 hours. You have 5 slaves whom you are willing to sacrifice in order to determine which barrel contains the poisoned wine. How do you achieve this in 48 hours? Let me repeat the puzzle again. You have 240 barrels of wine, one of which has been poisoned. After drinking the poisoned wine, one dies within 24 hours. You have 5 slaves whom you are willing to sacrifice in order to determine which barrel contains the poisoned wine. How do you achieve this in 48 hours? The number system we generally use is base 10 or decimal system. A number can be represented in multiple ways such as base 10, base 2, base 8. Similarly, a number can also be represented in base 3 system. Base 3 uses only 0, 1 and 2 to represent any number. If you are not familiar, this is easy. Binary system uses 0 and 1 to represent the number, whereas ternary system uses 0, 1 and 2 to represent the number. Though conversion techniques remain same for binary and ternary systems. Now let's use the base 3 system in order to solve this puzzle. Let the barrels be numbered from 1 to 240, and this is represented in base 10. And the same number can be represented in base 3 from 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 till 2, 2, 2, 2, 0. Here the first number represents number 1, whereas second number represents 240. Hence there are 3 digits in ternary system corresponding to 3 outcomes in the given problem for each slave. Let's assign the digits to the outcomes. When it is 0, the slave does not die. When 1, the slave dies within the first 24 hours. When 2, the slave dies in the last 24 hours. So now arrange 5 slaves and let's give the wine from each barrel to the slaves. Convert each number associated with the barrel to its equivalent base 3 representation, which will be 5-digit number. Now consider example. Assume for barrel 139. Here barrel number is 139, which is represented in base 10, and its equivalent base 3 representation is 1, 2, 0, 1, 1. You can use online calculator or any other calculation methods to convert the number from base 10 to base 3 representation. Here, if you observe carefully, third digit is 0, so don't feed slave 3 from this barrel. The logic is simple. So in this case, third digit is 0, so don't feed slave 3 from this barrel. First, fourth and fifth digits are 1, so feed slave number 1, 4 and 5 from this barrel at time t is equal to 0. Second digit is 2, so feed slave 2 from this barrel at time t is equal to 24. So if slave 1, 4 and 5 dies at first 24th hour and slave 2 dies at 48th hour, then barrel 139 is poisonous. Now the problem has become more simple. Let's consider one more example. Now I am considering the barrel number 231. Here barrel number is 231, which is represented in base 10, and in equivalent base 3 representation it is 22120. Here fifth digit is 0, so don't feed slave 5 from this barrel. Third digit is 1, so feed slave number 3 from this barrel at time t is equal to 0. And the first, second and fourth digits are 2, so feed slave number 1, 2 and 4 from this barrel at time t is equal to 24. If slave 3 dies at first 24th hour and slave 1, 2 and 4 dies at 48th hour, then barrel 231 is poisonous. So with these simple steps, we can find which barrel is poisonous based on which slaves die. To make the concepts clear, let's consider one more example. If slave number 2 and 4 die in the first 24 hours and slave 3 dies in the next 24 hours, then the barrel number can be represented like 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, which is base 3 representation. And its equivalent base 10 representation is 48. Hence, in this case, barrel 48 is poisonous. By following these simple steps, you can find which barrel is poisonous. You are a king of an empire. You have a servant working in your palace. He works all the 7 days and you only pay him in the form of gold bar. You must pay the worker for his work every day at the end of the day. If you are only able to make 2 breaks in the gold bar, how will you pay the servant if the servant works for the equal time every day and thus equal amount must be paid at the end of the day? If you are thinking of how to cut in such a way that you are able to make 7 equal pieces, you are thinking in the wrong direction. You should give more stress on how to make the transactions with the worker. So the trick is not to try and how to cut in such a way to make 7 equal pieces, but rather to make transactions with the worker. Make 2 cuts on the gold bar such that you have the following sizes of bars. Bar A should be 1/7 of the bar, bar B should be 2/7 of the bar C should be 4/7 of the bar. Let's check whether it is going to work. When the day 1 ends, give bar A to the worker. Here you remain with bar B and bar C. Worker possesses bar A. When the day 2 ends, give bar B to the worker and take the bar A back. Here you remain with bar A and bar C. Worker possesses bar B. When the day 3 ends, give bar A to the worker. You remain with bar C. Worker possesses bar A and bar B. When the day 4 ends, give bar C to the worker and take back bar A and bar B. Here you remain with bar A and bar B. Worker possesses bar C. When the day 5 ends, give bar A to the worker. You remain with bar B, worker possess bar A and bar C. When the day 6 ends, give bar B to the worker and take back bar A. Here you remain with bar A, worker possess bar B and bar C. When the day 7 ends, give bar A to the worker. Here you remain with no bar. Worker possess bar A, bar B and bar C. Thus by the end of 7 days, you have taken care of everything. This is a clever logical interview puzzle. 99% of the people fails to answer this. If you are lucky, you can get the same question and you can answer in less than a minute. You have 3 jars that are all mislabeled. One jar contains candies, another contains sweets, and the third jar contains a mixture of both candies and sweets mixed in random proportions. You can put your hand in a jar and pick only one eatable at a time. Tell the minimum number of eatables that have to be picked in order to label the jars correctly. Assume that the shape of the candies and sweets are identical and there is no way to differentiate them by touching alone. This is a tricky puzzle. Pause the video and try yourself before checking the solution. Let me explain the solution now. When I first saw this puzzle, I have spent more time to find the solution. Even though puzzle looks very simple once you know the solution, but it's really confusing puzzle. Logic lies in first selecting the correct jar in finding the solution. Let me explain the solution step by step. In step 1, you have to pick only one eatable from jar C. Suppose the eatable is a candy, then the jar C contains candies only because all the jars were mislabeled. So remember, this jar cannot contain sweets because it is mislabeled. The only choice on this jar is candies. Most importantly, this is enough to label other two jars correctly. Let me explain how. Now, since the jar C has candies only, jar B can contain sweets or mixture. But jar B can contain only the mixture because its label reads sweets, which is wrong. Therefore, jar A must contain sweets. Thus the correct labels are jar A contains sweets, jar B contains candies and sweets, jar C contains candies. Thus answer is just one pick of an eatable is required to correctly label the jars. There are many variations to this puzzle, but logic remains same. Let me share one more variation. This problem is also called jelly beans problem. This is also commonly asked interview puzzle. You have 3 jars that are all mislabeled. One jar contains apple, another contains oranges, and the third jar contains a mixture of both apple and oranges. You are allowed to pick as many fruits as you want from each jar to fix the labels on the jars. What is the minimum number of fruits that you have to pick and from which jars to correctly label them? This puzzle also requires the similar logic which I have explained earlier. So let me explain the solution. Let's take a scenario. Suppose you pick from jar labeled as apple and oranges. You got apple from it. That means that jar should be apple as it is incorrectly labeled. So it has to be apple jar. Now the jar labeled oranges has to be mixed as it cannot be the oranges jar as they are wrongly labeled, and the jar labeled apple has to be oranges. Similar scenario applies if it's a oranges taken out from the jar labeled as apple and oranges. So you need to pick just one fruit from the jar labeled as apple and oranges to correctly label the jars. Thus the answer is just one pick of an fruit is required to correctly label the jars. One person has some money in his pocket. He visits 4 churches on the way. As soon as he visits any church, the money in his pocket gets doubled, and on his way out, he donates $100 to each church. In total, he visits 4 churches. After visiting the last church, his pocket is empty of all the money. So how much money he had initially? Let me simplify the puzzle. One person has some money in his pocket. He visits 4 churches on the way. As soon as he enters a church, his money gets doubled and he offers $100 in each church. Thus, his pocket gets empty after he returns from the 4th church. Now the question is, how much money he had initially? Let me explain the solution now. Let's assume a person began his quest with X dollars. In first church, as soon as he enters the church, his money is doubled to 2x. On his way out, he donates $100, therefore he is left with 2x minus $100. In second church, as soon as he enters the church, his money is doubled to 2 into 2x minus 100. 2x minus 100 is the money left before visiting the second church. On his way out, he donates another $100 and he is left out with 4x minus $300. In third church, as soon as he enters the church, his money is doubled to 2 into 4x minus 300. 4x minus 300 is the money left before visiting the third church. On his way out, he donates another $100 and he is left with 8x minus $700. And at fourth church, as soon as he enters the church, his money is doubled to 2 into 8x minus 700. And we know that 8x minus 700 is the money left before visiting the fourth church. On his way out, he donates another $100 and he is left with 16x minus $1500. And according to the question, after his last visit, he completely runs out of money. According to our equations, at the end of the fourth church, so the equation is 16x minus 1500. Therefore, 16x minus 1500 is equal to 0. After solving for x, we get x equals 93.75. Hence, a person had started his quest with $93.75 in his pocket.